Are you ready for another sell-off in the market? Let's talk about that and more coming up right now on the Short Vol Show Live. All right, folks, and welcome to the Short Vol Show Live. My name is David Lincoln. Thanks for joining me this morning as we see the market slightly up. It's been kind of just unched for a while and starting to rally a little bit more right now as we see E-minis up 725, NASDAQ up 37, and Dow futures up 41 with the VIX down 67 cents. When we're talking about Are You Ready? I want to pull up this chart here, and we're going to see E-minis have been in this little box. Now, if you watch Theo trade, Don Kaufman's been calling this a volatility box here. And let me see if I can back it up just a little bit further. And it's basically been between 2,600 and 2,800 in the E-mini sort of. And basically, we've been kind of bouncing up and down in this area. And the question is, what happens if we break lower? Because if enough people are worried about it, then it seems like we will break lower at some point. It's just kind of like Murphy's Law, I think. Let's see if we can do like 30 days, 90 days. How about 90 days? It's just this little box here, which we just seem to be bouncing around in. And similar for NASDAQ. But the question is, what if we break lower than this area here? We broke lower for a second back then, but what if we break lower and volatility starts to just crank? Are you ready for that? How can you get ready for that? Well, you could, of course, buy out of the money calls in a UVXY. You could buy some puts, out of the money puts in the SPX. And you probably should be thinking about buying some put spreads or getting short some of these issues. You know, it doesn't have to be that everybody loses money when the market goes down. I know we've seen this like record number of hedge funds losing money when the market goes down. Well, aren't there any hedge funds that lean short? It seems like nobody leans short. We as individual traders can lean short, though, and I would encourage you to do so. Once again, I was watching Theo trade yesterday, and they were talking about how some of the medical stocks are have held up pretty well and would be a good place to short. He was talking about United Healthcare. United Healthcare was in Connecticut. By where I used to live was a big United Healthcare factory or whatnot in Wilton, Connecticut. We do have the rally today, and we've put together a little bit of a rally over the last few sessions. This area right here, you can see. Excuse me, but you know, this could fail if history is any guideline. This could fail, and we have sort of a general downtrend over the last couple weeks. If that continues, you just don't want to be like taken off guard, caught off guard by something that seems to have a regular occurrence these days. And so I want people to be cautious. If you are like shorting volatility, maybe you buy, you know, a 70 call or a 70-75 call spread. Out of the money call spreads in UVXY are very cheap due to the fact that of the skew. When you buy a call spread, you're buying a lower strike and selling a higher one, and the skew is skewed that way so that when you're buying a lower strike, it's at a lower volatility than the higher strike you're selling. So all out of the money call verticals in UVXY are discounted. So it's a great way to hedge a little bit of your risk. And I definitely like front week spreads, like if you're looking at, 1 week out, December 8th spread, you could buy like the 73 call vertical, 57 cents. $3 spread, you're paying 57 cents. That's like you could make 6 times your money on a hedge if it actually goes there. Now the likelihood is it's not going to go there, but and you don't want to be completely hedged, because if you're completely hedged, there's no real opportunity to make money. But I would definitely consider hedging yourself to some extent. Okay, let's look at some stocks to watch here for a second. First of all, we had the Farm Bill went through yesterday, and that supposedly was bullish for MJ stocks, and MJ stocks were bid after the close yesterday. But once again, Tilray, a lot of shares are coming out of lockout period, and I think it should be probably heavily on the offer. Afria was bid, but no longer bid. NBEV, same thing, was bid up almost to 7. Now it's still up a little bit, so it's 652 bid at 655 now, but not bid up as much as before. ACB closed 612, now is 620 bid. So these MJs are bid up a little bit. CGC closed 3203, now is 3270 bid. But it doesn't seem as big a deal as some people would have had you believe. Like this was like signaling the legalization in the United States, and now all these things are going to get bid up. It hasn't really, seems to be kind of petering out here. The big question is, do we get a Santa rally, and do we rally from here, or do we have another leg down? It's kind of been convincing over the last couple of days that we're kind of trying to put a little bit of a rally together here and sort of forming a base, but we know that that's failed several times in the last couple weeks, so stay agile, I would say. Stay small. Be careful out there, folks. We have a new year is starting in January, and everybody, I for one, want this to be a profitable year starting next year. So I want to keep things tight to the vest and play everything right, and hit the ground running on January 1st. As I said, we're bid into the open here, and we'll see if that stays that way. Let's see. Hi, Oliver. ECB announced end to bond buying program. Cause for further bond volatility. Interesting. Contrarian. Hi, Contrarian. How you doing, buddy? And we, it's one of the few mornings I actually got here sort of on time. In a perfect world, I should have this show coming on every morning at 8:30 like clockwork, instead of having like random times like in the middle of the day and in the afternoon. And I promise I am getting it together here, folks, soon. And I've been working on some interviews. I've set up some interviews coming up, which should be exciting for everybody here. Let's take a look quickly at the term structure today. I believe we still are in backwardation. Here we are. And it looks like we need basically the VIX to fall below, I would say, below 19 for us to go into backwardation at this point. It will adjust itself over time into backwardation, but at this point it seems fairly resistant to going there, unless the VIX actually does go sell off a little bit here, which would take, of course, a little bit of a rally. So that would be nice. It would be nice to go back into contango here. I know all my VIX buddies would like that. I'm watching Tilray today. I think if we get any sort of pop in Tilray, I would probably sell into it. I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. I'm thinking about maybe selling call verticals in like March maybe in Tilray. So I'm thinking if we get a pop here, because look at the chart, it's been going straight down. So I'm thinking if we get a pop here to maybe sell something like the March, I was thinking about something like selling like the March 85 100 call spread. A little bit to just take advantage of this continuing down move in Tilray, because I feel like more shares are going to become available in the float, and the people that own them are going to want to try to get out of them. Tilray is bid up right now before the open, and we'll see if that bid continues. I don't really want to sell it too far in the hole because it has made a nice down move here, but if we get a significant pop, say back to 100 or 110, I will look to short it, I believe. All right, so that's what kind of some stuff that I'm looking at today. The other thing I've been looking at is, of course, Deutsche Bank. It is offered a little bit right now. We saw that big bounce off of 823 up to 9. A lot of people, I think, trying to bottom feed on that one. Another one that I think people are going to be bottom feeding on is this GE here. We've seen that pop this morning as well, and that's not too surprising. I think people are looking to look at the low, 666. Ooh. That's the number of the devil. Anyway, I think people looking to capitalize on bottom feed on that one. And, you know, a way to do that would be to buy calls, maybe buy some June 8 calls. I see these June 8 calls offered at 74 cents. They probably won't be offered at 74 cents on the open with the big, you know, the rip up. It's 80 cents higher right now. But regardless, maybe you could get June 9s for 74 cents or something. And I think that buying some of those calls, I mean, they're not going to decay very quickly, and that would be an efficient way of using leverage to get long some deltas. Each call, remember, controls 100 shares of stock, so if you can buy a call for 75 cents, that's $75 to control 100 shares of stock. That's pretty good deal, and you've got 190 days for now, of course, you could look at your break-even point. Your break-even point would be whatever you paid for that call plus $8 for the 8 strike. So if you pay $1 for that call, then your break-even is $9. You need it to go up $1.50 to break even. But that's risk over a long period of time. There's several ways you could lay off that risk. You could sell some of the 8 calls in one of the front months. I wouldn't really recommend doing that, though, because that kind of like limits your upside. But what you could do is you could buy these June 8 calls and look to sell something else against it that's a higher strike. So you buy the June 8 calls, you get a little pop, and maybe you sell, maybe you sell some Jan 10 calls if you get a pop. Or maybe you sell some Jan 9 calls if you get a pop. Something like that. Or you just put those in your pocket, those June calls, and forget about them. And you've got 190 days for this thing to pop. This is like a low risk trade that you could get out of if you needed to. I like it. More fun to do a couple low risk trades than to, get right in the way of getting run over in the market volatility right now by getting really long a stock or really short a stock in some other way. All right, let me know what you see that's interesting to you, and I will check in with you possibly later in the day today or tomorrow. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Short Vol Show Live.